Okay, so today I wanted to do a video about a book that I read recently called I Don't Believe in Atheists by Hedges. And I'll start off by talking about some things that I liked about the book, because there were many things that I did like about the book. I liked the way that he is critical of modern Western society, how it's, or at least in America, tends to be very anti-intellectual. People are looking really to be entertained more so than to really engage in intellectual pursuits or activities, and also how our society has become very depersonalized, very, people are very isolated from one another, and I think that's certainly true. I like the fact that he was critical of religious fundamentalism, as well as being critical of intellectual hubris in general, and critical of people who assume, or I guess, really assume that human society is heading in a positive direction morally, simply because we are, becoming more technologically advanced. I think that he rightfully points out that that's wishful thinking, that there are certainly a lot of examples that you can point to show that humans are still, when you get right down to it, humans are still very amoral and barbaric, and certainly morally imperfect as a rule. I don't think you'll really find anybody who could never be accused of hypocrisy, could never be accused of any sort of brutality or insensitivity to another person, or find anybody that could never be accused of any kind of dishonesty. I think those are just, like he points out in the book, those are just traits that most people have to, well, not most people, all people that have to some degree, and that religion is a useful concept as far as the concept of original sin being the fact that no matter how hard humans may try, we're still not going to be as as honest or as kind or as rational as we ideally would like to be, or would like to think of ourselves as. And I think that that's it was a very good point. And let's see, I also like that he criticized a certain sense of superiority that a lot of people in Western cultures tend to have when they look at other parts of the world that are not as economically developed, that aren't as technologically advanced. We tend to see ourselves as superior to human beings in those societies, and he rightly says that we're not, and gives plenty of examples to that effect, and I really appreciated that. Anything I think that can sort of bring people back to reality and sort of knock them off the pedestals that we tend to place ourselves on, I think is a good thing. So I like that about the book. I like the fact that he points out a certain idealism that some atheists have about, you know, if we could just get rid of religion, that, you know, human society could be, you know, more compassionate, more rational, more, you know, scientific, more learned. I think that that is a nice idea, but I guess I view it as he was sort of trying to say that religion isn't a cause of human beings being irrational, but more that religion is a reflection of the fact that people are inherently irrational. And, you know, I can understand that point of view, and I agree with that. I don't think that, well, it's just like homophobia, and I talked about this in another video. A lot of people want to, you know, blame religion entirely for the fact that homophobia exists, but I think that, you know, it's just a human prejudice that exists outside of religion, and that, you know, people may use religion to justify their homophobia, but I don't think that that's necessarily the, you know, the source of it. I think that it probably, you know, predated religion or any kind of homophobic religion. So, you know, sort of the same general idea that, you know, that human beings basically would find other ways of being irrational, other reasons to kill one another, other reasons to discriminate against each other and dehumanize one another, even if religion didn't exist. And I would tend to agree with that aspect of what he was saying in the book. Let's see. I think that, yeah, I also like the fact that he doesn't criticize atheism and atheists, you know, simply for not believing in God, but only for, you know, their feeling superior to, you know, people that are religious. You know, basically he's pointing out that everyone is, you know, imperfect and irrational, and, you know, that everyone tends to be a little bit full of themselves and sort of make assumptions about other people that, you know, they're based on, you know, prejudices and not, you know, real world experiences or knowledge. Okay, so some things that I didn't like about the book. Well, the title I wasn't too crazy about. As a matter of fact, as soon as I saw it in the library, I was like convinced that I wasn't going to like the book, because I don't know if I consider myself a full-blown atheist, but I am definitely agnostic and, you know, heavily leaning toward atheism. And, you know, it seemed ludicrous to say that you know, when atheists say they don't believe in God, they mean that they don't believe that He exists. Well, I mean, you can't really believe that atheists don't exist, because obviously we do. And I understand that he was trying to say that he didn't believe in atheists in the sense that he doesn't believe that atheists are inherently better than believers, more moral and all that. But I really felt like the title was kind of misleading and meant to be, I don't know, meant to be that way, and meant to sort of, you know, grab people's attention and sort of, you know, lead their mind in one direction when he's really trying to make a different point. And so I felt like he probably could have picked a better title, something less misleading and more true to the point that he was trying to make, you know, about some atheists and not about atheism in general. And he talks about, you know, he points out people like Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris and Christopher Hitchens as being examples of atheists who believe in the advancement of human civilization and believe that, if everybody could be, put their faith in science and reason, that humanity would, be okay. But I don't think that he doesn't really give a lot of specific examples of atheists who I believe are really trying to make the kind of point that humans are, becoming more morally evolved. He doesn't really give any evidence for that assertion. And I've read The End of Faith, and I've read The God Delusion, and I've read God Is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens, and I didn't really feel like any of those books were trying to say that human beings are evolving toward some greater moral existence. They were making some, I believe, very valid criticisms of religion and how society doesn't confront the obvious falsehoods that, that most religions try to push on people. Like I said, I really think that if he was going to make that point about atheists, that he should have given some evidence of, people that have actually said that humans are becoming more morally advanced, more civilized, and all that. That was one criticism I had. Let's see. I really feel like like I said, from what I've read of those authors, I really felt like they were trying to take a more pragmatic approach toward morals, and I didn't really feel like they were trying to be idealistic, which he seems to. Chris Hedges seems to think that they're being idealistic about human nature, and like I said, I've read the books. I don't really feel like they were making those points. I understand his feeling that some of these authors are overly critical of religion, in the sense that they tend to blame so many of the world's problems on religion, because like I said in the previous thing, I understand the point that human beings are flawed, and even without religion we would find excuses to kill one another and all that, but I don't think that the criticism that Dawkins and Hitchens and Harris makes of religion, I don't think that they're points that don't need to be made. I think it came off to me like Chris Hedges obviously is someone that believes in God, and I think that he was taking a lot of the criticisms that these various atheists have made of religion. I think he was taking it all a little bit too personally, and that's just how it came off to me, was that because he was taking it as a personal attack against religion, that he had to sort of attack them back and point out that that atheists have done horrible things, and that there have been human beings that have killed in the name of political idealism or economic idealism. I don't think that really needs to be pointed out, and you know, just because you can point out those things, it doesn't mean that, you know, other people's criticism of religion has no point, or, you know, doesn't need to be said. So I didn't like that. And let's see. A lot of his arguments I did find to be oversimplified. I really felt like he should have gone into more detail. Like specifically, he talks about how a lot of people like Harris and Hitchens and Dawkins, how they're very critical of Islam, and he talks about how they don't know anything about the Middle East, they don't know anything about the Quran, they can't read Arabic, and therefore they're basically talking out of their ass about stuff that they don't know. And he's lived in the Middle East for 20 years, and, you know, their Muslims aren't really any different from us, and all of that. I felt like he should have, you know, given more. If you're going to make statements like that, you need to back it up with, you know, something other than, you know, just trust me, I've lived in the Middle East and I know what I'm talking about, you know. So anyway, basically it's a good book. He does make some very good points about society, and about, you know, people that would put their faith in, you know, technology to advance people morally. And he also does, I think, make some good points about the validity of, you know, some strains of religious philosophy, you know, that fundamentalists ignore when they try to, you know, oversimplify the religious text to make everything about black and white. I mean, I personally do think that there are, you know, good things about any religion that you can point to. You know, that's certainly true, but, and like I said, I think that if he was going to mention specific people, specific atheists that he's talking about in the book, I think he should have done more to justify those criticisms and to back them up with something substantive, because it just seems like he is taking their criticism of religion very personally and then turning around and making it personal against them without, you know, without backing it up with any real evidence, just sort of saying, you know, trust me, I'm a smart guy and I know what I'm talking about when I'm, you know, criticizing these people. But other than that, I think that it's worth reading, because it does make some good points, and it's not very long either. It's only about 200 pages. I read it in a day, so, you know, for that reason, you know, the brevity and the fact that it has some good points, I think it's worth reading. But, you know, I had some criticisms of it too. So, anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thanks for watching my video.